Um, you're happy with how things are with you and that things are gelling, and it sounds like you guys share the same passions for ministry.
Good evening, my friends, and whoever's awake with me at this hour. I want to welcome you back to Fisherman's Valor. So tonight we're going to talk about one thing every church member knows, every leader feels, but no one ever says out loud. And that is, some churches don't worship truth. They worship peace. And if you ever dare disturb that peace, even with honesty, even with evidence, even with scripture, you will be punished like you committed a crime. Trust me, I know. Because tonight I'm going to tell you the part of my story that wasn't written in any of the minutes, wasn't mentioned in any letter, and it sure wasn't included in any reconciliation meeting. And it's the part where telling the truth cost me my church, my reputation, my platform, my ministry, and nearly, or at least the attempt was made to cost me my marriage. And not because I sinned, but because I refused to be silent. Let me take you back. It was the last Sabbath. I'm standing in the sanctuary as the elder alongside the pastor. And then the next Sabbath, I'm invisible. Not released, not rebuked, not disciplined, at least not formally, just quietly erased. They said temporarily. But there was no scripture, no Matthew 18, no conversation, no sin, just gone. Now, why would a church do that? Because in a place that worships peace, truth tellers are what they consider ticking bombs. For you see, I had seen too much. The inconsistencies, the edits, the backroom edits, the unlawful process, the quiet retaliation against my husband. And so they pulled me off of the platform, the way you unplug a microphone before it squeals. And here's the problem. Here is the problem. My husband noticed. And Matt, let me tell you, he didn't defend me because he wanted a pulpit. He didn't need one. He preached elsewhere at other churches, and he never chased our church's platform. No, he defended me because he is a man of conscience and because what they did was wrong. Plain and simple. Nothing more, nothing less. And that was when the system smelled smoke. Let me tell you how fast narratives travel. Within days of Matt defending me, a new story was circulating, one we never authorized. He's jealous, he's not preaching, he's trying to take the spotlight, he's bitter, he's this, he's that. I was quite taken aback. I didn't quite laugh the first time I heard it, but almost because it was so ridiculous. But this narrative worked, because see, if they make him look unstable, then I must be misled. If they make my husband look jealous of the platform, then everything that he exposed is emotion, and it's invalid. If they make him look unhinged, then the pastor stays clean. Peace restored, truth denied, classic. And let me tell you about the text messages, not from leaders, no. From the members, people who hugged me every Sabbath, people who ate in my home, people who once called me sister. Suddenly, they became the conference's unofficial police force. You're not safe with him, they said. He's unstable. You should get out while you can. And I read these messages thinking, wow, they really think that they're doing God's work right now? But they weren't defending truth. They were defending their peace. Because you see, in a multi-generational SDA ecosystem, the pastor isn't just a leader. He's the gatekeeper of stability, of belonging, of identity. So if the truth threatens him, then the community will defend him, because losing him means losing their comfort. Truth threatens comfort. Comfort always wins. So while we were told that our membership was in good standing, we requested transfer to another church, a church that had embraced us with love and care. And then came the 2 letters, 2 identical, one to brother, one to sister. Please come to a reconciliation meeting. And let me pause here, because if you know policy, you know what I know and what I knew. The transfer was already approved. We were in good standing, and so therefore they had no jurisdiction. But these meetings, the meetings that we were summoned to attend, they weren't about reconciliation. They're about control, image, narrative. They needed Matt in that room so that they can extract a confession, not because we were wrong, but because their piece was. And when we refused to enter a meeting that violated policy, well, that was all they needed to declare him unstable, dangerous, and rebellious. And then for me, I have no idea what grievous sin I must have committed to then be officially censored for 6 months, mind you. So truth wasn't the threat. It was our refusal to bow. I like to call what happens next when manipulation puts on a prayer shawl. There came the spiritual performance. Oh, we're praying for your mental health. You're not well, you're confused, we're deeply concerned about you. Funny though, because not one single person seemed concerned that the pastor was altering minutes. Not one person prayed when the elders broke procedure. Not one person was worried when lies were spoken over us. But the moment I spoke truth, suddenly I'm unstable. This is how spiritual gaslighting works. Assign your pain to your brokenness instead of their wrongdoing, and then baptize it in prayer. And then when I was basically accused of being silent because my husband must have been abusively censoring me from speaking, that's when I decided to write everything. Every meeting, every contradiction, every breach, every lie, every action, every timeline, 50 pages, documentation, minutes, receipts, screenshots, policy citations. For you see, I was officially censored, and now is the time to speak. And so I sent it to every level. I sent it to the pastor, I sent it to the board, I sent it to the conference, the union, division, and the general conference. And let me tell you, silence didn't just break, it splintered. Because truth is fine until it's documented. Then it becomes a liability, and liability threatens peace. I was now officially the most dangerous kind of person, a truthful person with proof. Let's talk a little bit now about the $700 battery. If you want to know how deep this goes, listen carefully. So during all this mess, my husband had a friend, someone whose home, their water system, he helped to fix. Their well was actually dry. They had a new home built on a beautiful farm property, and their well, even no matter how deep they went, there was no water. And so Matt literally provided life-saving help. And along with that, he lent this friend a $700 lithium battery. And so months later, after we were censored, after the rumors, after my report went public, Matt simply asked for the battery back. It's a very simple text message. The reply, if your wife apologizes to my wife, I'll bring it. And what he was talking about, his wife was also my friend. And during this entire ordeal, she was silent, deadly silent. Not a single, hey, how are you? Just checking on you. And so I also kept it silent because it wasn't like she didn't know any of this was going on. So this friend, his wife, texted me, finally, after months of silence, to say that she knows a lot has been going on, but she loves me. And I did not receive that as a sincere text, just by the fact that everything had happened and now you're messaging me. And I just responded that too little too late, that they were all told explicitly not to contact me, all of the harassment. And now that you've censored me and prevented me from transferring to another church for 6 months, I expressed to her that this is harassment and abuse, and that I would like to go to a church that's actually loving and caring, and that is not this church. Well, apparently, this friend of my husband felt that this needed to be addressed. I needed to apologize for his wife for being firm and setting boundaries, and I guess rejecting her insincere text message. So if I apologize, he'll bring a battery. So a battery held hostage in exchange for my silence. And then came another text that made me uncomfortable. He said, if I were like you two, I'd release text messages that would hurt your feelings. And so there's blackmail inside of church conflict over a battery. Because if they could force me to apologize, then the whole narrative could be rewritten. See, she admitted it. We were right all along. Peace would be restored, but at the price of truth. So I didn't buy it, I didn't bow, and the battery sat in captivity, like a ransom note with a dollar amount. When my husband and I were thinking about all of the text messages, all of the "Kayleen, are you okay?" and no one checked in with Matt, all of the interesting text messages, including the one from the ministerial director wanting to meet with me separately, not including Matt in the quote-unquote follow-up, we realized something really chilling. They were asking me to choose between my spouse and the church. And I thought about that. Like, why would they think that this was something that they could do? And that's one of the things. Like, my husband and I, we asked the why. Why does this make sense to them? Because surely they know that what God has brought together, let no man put asunder, right? But why do they feel so entitled to basically put me or Matt in this predicament? And it's not because we sinned. They were basically following a principle that only applies to Jesus. Jesus says, "He that loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me." But again, this is Jesus. And what we're dealing with is the institution. And this institution is trying to demand a loyalty that they had no right to ask for. And they're standing in the place of God himself. And that's when I knew that this wasn't about peace. This was idolatry. And let me be honest, this cost more than I ever expected. People we loved vanished. Even someone in our extended family, someone inside of the system, they broke under the conscience pressure. And not because they believed the lies, but because telling the truth was too expensive. Why are you doing this? You're hurting the family. Guilt by association is a real thing. And they were afraid of their employment being threatened. Truth becomes the threat, but peace is the virtue, even if peace is the lie. And that's when I learned the real truth. If there's one thread through this entire story, it's this. They don't fear sin. No, they fear disruption. They fear the loss of comfort, image, tradition, potlucks, vespers, the illusion of unity. So they will crucify truth to keep the peace. Every accusation, every lie, every rumor, every attempt to split my marriage, every whisper about my sanity, it all came from one place. Their peace mattered more than my truth. And that is the cost of conscience in a church that worships peace more than Christ. Except this isn't the end. There's one more layer that they never put in the minutes. And I want you to hear something. And this doesn't include, of course, even the Facebook post that I was allegedly not tagged in, but secretly tagged to receive about when someone is unwilling or unable to see that they're being abused and need help, etc., etc. But I want you to hear something from a woman who once stood in our wedding reception and spoke blessings over my husband and I. Later, after the censure, after the rumors, this is what she wrote to me. Kayleen, my love for you has always been real and strong. You're one of the women of God that I fell in love with in my living room while we were doing Bible study. It is what allowed acceptance and love of Matt. I do care, I am interested and brokenhearted. However, I respect myself enough that I will never tolerate cruel, insulting behavior, not from my children, my brothers, my spouse, and especially not from Matt. My fear is that you are not safe with this man. I view him as manipulative, cruel, and unstable. Get out while you can. If Matt does not get his way, everyone is harassed. His behavior is unacceptable in any Christian church. He is a bully, and I will not be bullied. Because apparently, holding someone accountable to their actions is bullying. But anyway, his language to others is insulting, and not the Spirit of Christ, but a demonic spirit. And I think that statement right there deserves its own episode, which we will get into, my husband and I, when Christians clutch their self-righteous pearls of indignation when they've run out of things to say in a discussion or a debate. But anyway, she says that surely you are not viewing this as loving Christ-like behavior. So I'm on trial now for Matt's alleged character. She says that she was in the church on the date of our discipline, and I thought each of you would be there. And all of the emails, all of the Facebook posts were made available for everyone to read. So many threats, insults, and demands hurled at so many people, even non-Adventist individuals that contacted the conference with complaints about Matt. I was absolutely appalled. So many in the congregation had questions for each of you. But Matt, being a coward, chose to hide behind a computer. I pray for your spiritual and mental health daily. You are loved. Many of your friends are concerned about you and hold you in prayer. Love always. And then her name. Now, sit with what you just heard. Manipulative, cruel, unstable, bullying, demonic spirit, a coward, get out while you can. This is what people were handed after that October 4th meeting. A ready-made villain, a man that they had known, reframed in one afternoon as an abuser, a bully, a threat. And notice what she leans on. All the emails, the Facebook posts were made available for everyone to read, so they went on a witch hunt. And I'm assuming that, because we weren't there, but the very private Matthew 18 communications that were never supposed to be read in public had now become evidence to prove the character assassination. And just so everyone knows, the same non-Adventist individual she mentions, and it wasn't individuals, it was one who contacted the conference about Matt, is under FBI investigation for stalking a woman in Michigan. But of course, that part never made it into the concern, did it? Because when you need a villain, you don't fact check, you just feed it. Feed the fear. And so here's how all of this works, step by step. First, you remove me from platform with no cause, no process. And then when my husband defends me, you paint him as a jealous and bitter person. When he documents what happened, you call those threats, demands, harassment. And when I refuse to apologize for things that I did not do, you hold a $700 battery hostage like ransom from my conscience. It seems like everyone is pretty coercive. They all belong together. And then you gather the congregation, you read emails, read selective posts, share private communications without context and without consent, and you invite everyone to a conclusion that this man is unsafe, he is cruel, he is a bully, and he's under a demonic spirit. By the time disfellowship is on the table, the work is already done. Nobody is voting on facts, they're voting on a story. They're not weighing evidence, they're reacting to a feeling, the feeling that their peace is threatened by this man's existence. So when the vote comes, it feels righteous to remove him. Because what has the system done? It has rebranded conscience as cruelty. It has renamed courage as bullying, and it has painted spiritual clarity as mental instability. By the time it reaches the floor, disfellowship doesn't feel like retaliation. It feels like a just and righteous act. And that's how spiritual abuse works. It sanctifies exile by demonizing the one who wouldn't bow. And let me tell you what I wrote back to this friend of ours. Because I am not censored by my husband. I am censored by people who refuse to look at truth. And this is what I said. Character attacks do not erase legitimate concerns. They don't change the facts or make what happened to me right. Matt has never used profanity, yet you have admitted using it toward your own neighbors, who are also church members, and you felt justified in doing so. The only difference is that his words, as strong as they are, were visible online, and yours weren't. That doesn't make his concerns less valid and yours more righteous. To condemn him publicly while excusing yourself privately is hypocrisy. The man who contacted the conference is under FBI investigation for stalking. Matt's Facebook posts have nothing to do with the core issue. And when we submitted our membership transfer, the elder confirmed that our membership was in good standing. And on September 2nd, we met with the elders. Matt prayed. He hugged everyone. He said, "I love you. I forgive you." He knelt and prayed and then sang a song before we left. And I informed that elder that we were reconciled. 2 days later, we submitted our transfer request while our membership remained in good standing. Then suddenly, we were summoned to a board and business meeting after the church had already lost jurisdiction and the receiving church had already accepted our membership. That alone makes any subsequent action void. It is retaliation, not reconciliation. And what Matt said online about governance, process, and truth is not a violation of the 10 Commandments, but lying is, changing records is, misusing authority is, and punishing by association is. His words were strong because my censure came after months of quiet obedience. He spoke up because I was punished for doing the right thing. And dismissing truth because of tone is not discernment, it's avoidance. And then I told her the part that still breaks my heart. And I called her by name, that what broke my heart was being censured by you. You are blaming Matt for censure when it was you who participated in it. You are blaming him for what you yourself did. You did it, not him. And that is how twisted this became. The system convinced people that they were victims of his influence while they themselves voted away his membership. And as I conclude this episode, I want to read to you, my audience, something that I put in my 50-page report as part of my conclusion. And this is how I ended my appeal. Because before I'm anything else, I am a wife. Yes, I was an elder, but I am a wife who knows the man she married. And I stated, my husband Matt is a first-generation Seventh-day Adventist and a United States Marine veteran. He was trained to run toward danger, to fall on grenades if he had to, if it meant protecting others. When he came into this faith 2.5 years ago, he brought that same code with him: honor, courage, commitment. The very thing that Marines once called valor, the church later called rebellion. When he saw records altered, authority misused, process broken, conscience punished, he did what a Marine does. He did not retreat. He did not go silent. He did not pretend for the sake of comfort. He stood his ground while others stood in their fake piety. And that is not cruelty, that is conviction. And I wish you could have seen the other side of the story, the part they never read from the pulpit. The man they called bully is the one who shows up first and leaves last. He has repaired fences, cleared trees, restored well water access for families whose wells are dry. He has taken his own equipment, his own tools, his own money, and poured tens of thousands of dollars into helping church families and church projects, never asking for a dime back, never asking for his name on a plaque. He cleared the grounds of another church side by side for the aging members who could no longer do it themselves. And even at this church, he spent whole weekends helping people who would probably never mention his name now. He has never chased a title. He has never begged for a platform. He has never begged for applause. He has quietly lived what they preach from the podium. And even at potlucks, he embodies his creed. He eats last. Not because he's dramatic, but because he wants to make sure that every child, every visitor, every elder has their plate first. That is the man they now whisper about as cruel, unstable, under a demonic spirit, the one they expelled for protecting his wife and telling the truth. So tonight, if you've ever been in a church where truth felt dangerous and peace felt expensive, I want you to hear me clearly. They did not disfellowship a monster. They disfellowshipped a Marine with a conscience. And they did not censure a hysterical woman. They censured an elder who refused to let the record lie. Love was present in everything we did. Love for truth and God's body, his church. And what they called rebellion was fidelity to God, to conscience, to each other. Like Daniel, my husband dared to stand alone when the lions were already pacing, and for that I will always honor him. I'm not asking for pity, I am asking for clarity. And if your church ever demands from you the kind of loyalty that belongs only to Jesus, if it ever asks you to crucify truth to keep the peace, if it ever tells you that defending your spouse is rebellion, but defending a broken system is holiness, then you are not in a sanctuary. You are standing in front of an idol. And idols always demand sacrifice. I was that sacrifice. Matt was that sacrifice. But the good news is this. Systems can close ranks, minutes can be edited, letters can be written, votes can be taken. But heaven keeps a better record. And one day, every whispered lie, every weaponized prayer, every manipulated narrative will meet the Lord, will meet light, and have nowhere else to hide. Until then, I will keep speaking, because peace without truth is not peace. It is anesthesia. And I did not survive all this just to go back to sleep. This is Fisherman's Valor. Thank you for staying up with me.